Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are back to Uniquely Unqualified Podcast Take Two. One subject, easy content. We're going to go over gerrymandering. It seems to be a hot topic of the last week and a half. Before I do that, as always, please like and subscribe. Thank you so much to everybody who has already done so. So with that said, let's get into it. And I want to start first things first. What is gerrymandering? Well, I'll tell you. Google will surprise you sometimes. I do use Google a lot. I much prefer a browser like Brave. I like AI searches, not like Google AI because it's curated and it only digs through a certain amount. But I'm not going to get into it. But stuff. You have to like subscription pay. I don't even like ChatGPT very much. But there's a couple large language models that do a good job in bringing you information. But for this one, I just searched Google and I fucking love it. So let's go over the definition of gerrymandering as given to us by Google. Gerrymandering. Gerrymandering is the deliberate manipulation of electoral district boundaries to give one political party, incumbent, or group an unfair advantage over opponents by strategically shaping districts, often creating bizarre, convoluted shapes. Map makers can pick opposing voters into few districts or dilute their voting power across many. Let's go over that a little bit quicker. Gerrymandering is the deliberate manipulation of electoral district boundaries to give one political party, incumbent, or group an unfair advantage over opponents by strategically shaping districts, often creating bizarre, convoluted shapes. Map makers can pack opposing voters into few districts or dilute their voting power across many. Okay, so that's a really good definition. Now, we'll get into the states that are doing this, and they're going hardcore, right? California and Texas are two that are they're California and Texas are two of them. So let's go over some aspects of gerrymandering. Purpose: to maximize seats for one party while minimizing the representation of the other, often ensuring victory regardless of the overall popular vote. Now, again, this gerrymandering is something that you would do that would affect your local government, although those representatives will have seats in the electoral system, which would then therefore overall affect the presidential race. I think especially since Trump has been up there in office, I think that there have been people in the Electoral College that have literally just said, "Oh, you voting idiots don't know what you want, and I don't care what your district says. We're giving the vote to Biden." I have no proof of that. The conspiratorial side of me thinks that's true. So, a couple techniques. Packing. Concentrating the opposing party's voting power in one district to reduce their influence in others. Cracking. Distributing the opposing party's voting power across many districts to deny them a majority in any of them. Where does this come from? The term originates in 1812 from Massachusetts Governor Elbridge Gerry, who signed a bill creating a partisan district shaped like a salamander. Get it? Gerrymandering. According to the Merriam-Webster definition and this Cornell Law School article. Legality. While partisan gerrymandering is considered a political issue rather than a federal legal one in the U.S., per the 2019 Supreme Court case Rucho versus Common Cause, drawing districts specifically based on race is illegal. Gerrymandering is widely criticized for reducing electoral competition and making legislative seats safe for one party. Okay, now this is definitely something that not just the libs are doing, right? However, I don't think that it would be that big of a deal if the libs really didn't look to be like fucking cheating in the elections. And in a place like Virginia, so let's go over Virginia. So Virginia put a motion to vote on to gerrymander Virginia, to take literally all but one seat away from the Republicans. So Virginia gets 10 seats, right, or 11, and it would be 9 Democrats to 1 Republican in a state that has, significant electoral votes. And so this one went towards the Virginia Supreme Court, not the federal Supreme Court, and Virginia's gerrymandered map got shut down in the Virginia Supreme Court. So the people that went to vote for that, they're not going to get their way. Why? Well, because a fat amount of Virginians are conservatives. And especially when you look at the map that they wanted to redraw, you were putting liberal seats in conservatively held areas. And that's I think where Virginia wasn't able to stand up to this. Didn't do a whole bunch of research into why, just that it did happen. Who else? Louisiana. So Virginia didn't get their way with this, and Louisiana didn't get their way with this. Louisiana very specifically mentions race and minorities being representative. And oh, by the way, who the fuck says across the board black people are liberal? I don't get that. I've actually met more black people that tilt conservative than I have met black people that tilt liberal. And even the black people that I've met that have tilted liberal are actually quite moderate on about everything. So the fact that, and plus that's not a community that like jumps on board with ridiculousness like LGBTQIA+. They just don't. Neither do the Hispanics. Anyway, so Virginia's electoral maps stay the same. Louisiana's electoral maps stay the same. Here are some states where they're gerrymandered. It's okay. Texas is okay. North Carolina okay. Missouri is okay. All of these districts were redone for Republicans. Well, here's the deal. There's more fucking Republicans. You need who's the voting mass in this area? Republicans. And so you can't unfairly bias a district with a minority of Democrats to hold that seat when the majority of the constituents are Republicans. Case in point, California, their map gets to stay the same. Why? Because the majority are Democrat voters. And it seems to be that Florida is going to be passing redistricting as well. Now, I don't know. I don't necessarily. I do care. I do care when it comes to, if you're going to do it by the books and you're going to, follow the rules and, landscapes change. Landscapes change. Like the state of Idaho only had like 1 electoral vote, maybe 2. Well, the population has increased, and so that state will eventually need more representation. And as the population of other states decrease and move into places like Idaho, Idaho will then need to have another electoral vote based on their population. Side note, the reason why this whole illegal immigration thing is super important to the left is, don't forget, a lot of these folks that came up over the border got shipped out to swing states. And while California, there was an exodus of California, Gavin Newsom wants to say, we've got people moving in. You've got illegal immigrants moving in. You don't have business coming. You don't have regular Americans going, I'm heading out west to Hollywood. No one's doing that anymore. They all left. And now you're imposing tax laws that would just assume that anybody that owns a house is wealthy and they're going to tax you more. And so that's why California wants to have the illegal aliens. That's why ICE being in California and in Minnesota is bad, because you could potentially be removing a lot of these people that are counting for the census, which count for your electoral votes, but they're not citizens, so they shouldn't. Anyway, so that's what's going on. So that's the definition of gerrymandering. And I think with a place like Texas and Florida, makes sense. You know, there's a shitload of, and it's not to say that the heavily liberal districts won't turn red. That's not what they're doing. They're saying, okay, that's where y'all live. This is where we live. You can have your seats based on your population, and we're going to have our seats based on our population. And that's just how it goes. And it just so happens that outside of cities, the vast majority of people are conservative. And so when you have all of Virginia, which is very rural land, all of it turning blue? No, man. Y'all don't live out here in the sticks. Us rednecks do. Uniquely Unqualified Podcast Take Two. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. We will see you again soon.